Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Friday, and that means it's time for the ham radio outlet, Shack Chat. I'm your host, Katie, WI7YL. Welcome to my shack. I'm really excited to see all of you here this week. It is Friday, It's June 12th already. My goodness, I can't keep track of the days lately. And very excited to welcome all of you in from around the world. Please do say hello in the comments. Let us know where you're from. Give us a thumbs up. Don't forget, sharing is caring. So you can even share this live broadcast right now with your friends so they don't miss out on the great discussion I've got coming up with my friend John from Yaesu. So let's see, we've already got some folks in, so let's get everybody's hellos in there. There's Edwin is in. There's our new friend Paul is joining in. Edwin's here from Texas. There's my buddy Todd. Hi, Todd. And Chip from K7JA. We all know Chip. He was just on the show a couple of weeks ago, which reminds me, Chip covered a lot of great things on field day preparation. So if you missed that show, go back and check it out because he's got a lot of great ideas for you from things that you should make sure and putting together your list as you get ready for field day. There's my friend Kevin up in Northern California. Thanks. I am definitely feeling better. And there's Jim. Hi, Jim in Oklahoma City. And gosh, we got quite a few people rolling right in here. Virgil. Hi, Virgil, out in the East Coast. Jim is here. And Kevin, I just said hi to Kevin again. And Marty. Oh, hi, Marty. Now, you guys, Marty and his wife, Rose, are very special to me because last year went out to Anaheim HRO and he and Rose got married in the store. You might have seen that video, but you'll have to go back and check for that. That was, talk about a fun and special thing we did there. That was great. And we really appreciated that they gave us a chance to participate in that. Okay, we got Southern California here and Michael's from Florida. Oh, here's some DX. Hi, Doug. He's in the Ukraine. My goodness. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Grab a couple more people. Here's Pete and Alan. Hi, Alan, in my home state of Connecticut. And Leslie. Okay. Oh, one more. And James from Texas. All right. So we have got quite the lineup for you today. I am very happy, and I'm going to pull them in right now. I am very happy to welcome my friend John Kruk, N9UPC from Yaesu. Hello, John.
Hello, Katie. How you doing?
I'm terrific. Thank you so much for joining us this week on Shack Chat.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, we've been talking every week with a theme of field day, and we're just now a couple weeks away. Can't believe it. Even with everything going on in the world, there's still a lot of us that are preparing for field day and going through our boxes of stuff, trying to find all of the things that we still need. And, of course, you always need a new radio. So I thought it'd be a perfect time to talk to you about what kind of Yaesu rigs would be great. But, we got to have a good time. Oh, there's Todd saying hi to you. So, John, why don't we start with just a couple of fun facts before we get going? Sure. How long have you been a ham?
I have been a ham since 1993, if I remember correctly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I started out when I was a teenager. And it's kind of unfortunately, it's one of those little bittersweet kind of stories there. My grandmother, unfortunately, she had cancer at the time. So I had to stay at home or close to the home with her. So, right. And I started tinkering around with electronics and doing things with electronics and CB radios that maybe the FCC doesn't want to hear. But moving besides that, my dad joked around. He said he decided to turn my powers to good instead of evil. And he got me involved in ham radio from making other dangerous, circuits and capacitors blow up and what have you. And I got it. I'm original N9UPC luck of the draw from the FCC back in the days. Right. It took you, 13 weeks, I think it was.
I know that was definitely before my time. So yeah, I didn't get my license. I'm one of the late bloomers. I was, almost 35 when I finally got my license. And I really wish I had done it at a younger age like you did and played around with it. My first kind of experience with it, though, was my dad was a CB operator and he was blind, and it was a hobby that my mom got him started with to kind of give him something else to do besides work and get her out of her hair probably, and which turned out to be a bit of a project because we lived in an old Victorian in Connecticut. And you'd come home and dad would be on the roof trying to put together an antenna, and people are yelling, "Get down here!" And I would drive him down to the Radio Shack to get pieces and parts and help hook things up. And I just didn't really I didn't think about it until I became a ham of how much I actually used to tinker around with him when I was younger, and how I wish I kind of stuck with it, because I think it's, there's so many neat things about ham radio. It seems like every day you learn something new.
Oh yeah. It's always a learning and growing experience. And, one of the biggest things I progressed up levels because of just this educational factor. And that's why I like doing it. I from the educational standpoint, and I'm big in the MCOM too. So.
Oh, absolutely. And you're an EMS provider.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And you've been doing that for over 25 years now, haven't you?
I've only been doing amateur radio technically 2 years longer than I have been doing EMS.
My goodness. Wow. Yeah. Well, here's Andy. It says he's a Yaesu fanboy over from the M0KED. He's one of our regulars. And I believe Andy's in our Shack Chat shout out here in a little while. So that's terrific. So field day.
Yes.
Did you do field day like when you first got into ham radio? Is it one of the things or did you find a club and just show up, or what do you remember about maybe like when you first started going to a field day?
The club I was at, I was northern Wisconsin, so there wasn't really too big of a club. There was one that we were with, but it didn't do too much as in field day activities. It wasn't until I would say more so of the early 2000s that I really started to get involved with field day. And more importantly, I guess the reason I was starting to get involved with field day was just because at the time I was only a no-code tech. That's how I got into it at the time. And so it was kind of that ability, that option for me to go play on the radio, play on the HF bands for that day and still have fun, and then try to do some goal orientated kind of aspects of it, which I think really helped out for me to progress up to the license class that I am.
Right. Well, that's a great point, because field day is, for so many people, it really is their first experience with HF, and being able to, hear all of the people that are out there, or experience the frustration of 6 meters in the summertime, when there's somebody there and then they're just gone, how does that happen? It drives you nuts, but it's so much fun, especially when you see somebody whose first time getting on the air is at field day, and just seeing their eyes light up, and their first time really experiencing the magic of HF, and it's a lot of fun, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure field day was my husband's first experience on the radio, and they pretty much like had to pry him off the radio but he was first playing around, and of course now his call sign is Wyoming 7 Field Day, so that says it all, I think. So do you have, I know a lot of people, if you've been to a lot of field days, it's kind of hard to, say what's your favorite about them, but do you have a special thing any special memories from any field days of the past that, kind of has stood out to you when you think about field day?
I do. I have one. It was kind of a weird situation. So living in northern Wisconsin, western Wisconsin over here, we would do it at one of the parks, like a city park here. And we'd have the pavilion, and it was nice enough. The city did not go ahead in any way, shape, or form charge us for the pavilion.
Oh, nice.
They knew who we were and everything like that. So it was kind of nice that strategic partner relationship, as they would say.
Yeah.
And one day we're out there doing field day, have all the antennas, and it's like at the edge of the baseball field, all that kind of stuff. And this wedding party came in. And the wedding party, I think, thought that the pavilion was going to be open or something.
Or sure, photos, right?
Right, exactly. So they came in and they said, "Oh, this and this," and I was like, hey, shake a hand, introduce yourself. We're not the weird guys that stay in the basement, and all pasty white and everything. Yet I'm in my basement now, so hey, here's that example.
So am I.
but we went along and he said, "Oh yeah, da 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 da." And as we got talking to them a little bit, found out that of course it was their wedding day, and that they had a family member, and I can't remember who it was, but it was or what country I should say that they were there, but their family member was an amateur radio operator in another country. And it just happened to be that day that we were able to help facilitate a quick communication with them.
Gosh.
So it was kind of like, we're like, kind of, wow, amateur radio just made the world smaller, and on all assets and aspects, we were like, we're using our equipment, we're using this, and we just facilitated something that, I never could even thought of happening, like we're out of a movie or something.
Oops, we had a little bit of a blurb there. Sorry about that. Nope. Yeah, that is pretty, talk about, that is definitely something to be memorable. Greg and Judy are usually in here. He's the section manager in Kentucky, and he also serves as I believe he's actually a licensed minister, but he performed a wedding ceremony at Field Day a few years back. And talk about, I think it's a great opportunity to, have, when you have hams that meet up at Field Day or become, a couple, and then, it's a great time because you've already got a built-in reception. You got the food there, you got the radios and antennas, all your friends. Yep. So it works out really cool. That's neat. Oh, we got somebody in my neck of the woods. It's probably kind of between us. Gary, he's in Fargo.
Oh, yeah.
2.5 hours east, though. He's closer to me than you guys. But so let's talk radios. I'm sure everybody's kind of like, all right, enough of that. Let's hear about what radios I can take out to Field Day. So let's see. What would you say would be, the first go-to radio that people think of from Yaesu when they want to, get out in the field? And, obviously Field Day, but it could be, a park on the air or what have you.
There's kind of two that fit that bill, and I'll kind of give the more popular one that's out there, and that's the FT450.
Okay.
And the reason that the FT450 is really popular is, one, it's a very small, compact unit. First of all, it does not, of course, have a built-in power supply, but you can easily get a 12-volt power supply that supplies enough. Or, if you want to use like I know you talked about with I forgot, it was a Beano Power, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, the Bioenno.
The Bioenno, that's a Bioenno. And I've talked to him at shows, when we've been there, and they really have a wide variety of stuff to interface with our radios to provide long-lasting power. But one of the reasons that a lot of people tend to like the 450 is because of the graphic user interface, which goes into that aspect. And yeah, you can even see, like on the picture, you can actually see on the radio, like how it goes from the actual transmitter to the antenna, and then how when you add this filter or you add in the notch, or you can kind of like that whole kind of block stream of things, and it really helps a lot of people, especially getting into it the first time and doing on Field Day, going and saying, wow, now I can hear how when I activate the notch filter, or how when I put in antenna attenuation, because we got the group down the street, is blowing us out, but it really, a lot of people like it for that there. And then more importantly, it does do 6 and 10 meters FM also. So I know some people have actually, I know it's a weird thing, but there are still 6 and 10 meter repeaters out there in the world, and, kind of trying to do a little quasi FMDX, or coordination using those.
Sure. And it's pretty lightweight also, considering, for radios, I think it's probably a little heavier than some of the others, but, to pack it up in a Pelican case or what have you, it's like around 8 pounds or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not that bad at all. I've had mine, and I've used mine for numerous times. And then of course it has, the antenna tuner built into it. So if you have a specific band cut antenna, it's going to kind of, lengthen it, like I like 75 and 80 meters personally. That's just me. But, I kind of cut my antennas for like mid band on there, and usually the antenna tuners will get me to both edges of the band without an issue on there. Nice.
So that sounds like a really good option. And that's, pretty nice, for under $1,000. This is, we've got it at HRO for $719.95. To have an HF radio and your 6 meter 100 watts, like I said, that's a lot of features for under $1,000. That's a nice solid radio. That's, as Todd just mentioned earlier, it was his first, here we go. He says it was his first HF radio. Yep. And I wonder if there's many others out there that are, that have picked that one up as their first radio.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it is, and this is actually kind of an unknown thing about the 450, as well as the 991A, which is a good radio also too. But the 450 and the 991A, you can actually buy a mobile bracket for that. to mount
Okay.
like in a camper, or if you got a big enough vehicle, or if you
Oh,
have it in a sort of a go kit. And I know a
right.
couple of friends of mine that are the snowbirds now, when they can figure out the season, as I joke around, they'll
Yeah.
travel between here and Arizona. And he's like, yep, I got it in the camper. He's like, it's great because I just take it out of the house, plug it in the camper, screw in the bracket,
Right.
the bolts in the bracket, and I'm good to go.
That is really, that's a good point, because so many people, if you're going to go out with your radio, a lot of times they are going out in their campers, they're going
Yep.
camping. I was saying, we just bought a new tent for field day, and I'm thinking to myself, it's got plenty of room for a table. So,
Mhm.
we're going to take it out there, but I might set up something in in our little tent and try it from out there just for fun,
Mhm.
And now with something like, I was looking, the ATAS 25 is a good antenna that would go with that, right?
Correct. Not only the 25, but the actual ATAS 120A also works
Okay.
with this. And the difference between
Yep.
the two is the ATAS 25 is a
Yep.
manual setting, where the
Okay.
ATAS 120 is an automatic setting on there.
Okay. So
That
then if you were gonna get the 25, you'd probably want something like this, the controller from like MFJ, for example? Is that what you're
No.
is that the
The ATAS 125
Oh,
is you actually
120.
have to manually adjust it up and down. Where
Oh, okay.
the ATAS 120 is all motorized and it ties into the radio, so you do not need any sort of
Oh,
external device or anything whatsoever.
okay. Well, see, that's why I have you on here, because I need the I need clarification on some of these things.
Mhm.
That's terrific. Yeah, I was looking, and a couple $100 for a nice antenna that you can just take out with you. I was looking around, and this seems to be a pretty popular antenna for people to take out in the field with them. It goes out with them with their radios, and Bob's your uncle. You're on the air.
Yeah, and a lot of people, and that's kind of the second radio that's a pairing, which I run all the time in my car, is the FT891, and then I pair it with the ATAS 120A, and that's a great pairing combination there, because very
Mhm.
similar to the FT450, you have a little bit of a different design because it's a mobile radio, of course, but you have
Right.
the detachable head. You have the speaker jack right on the head of the radio there,
Right.
and you have a couple different menu layers or levels on there. So, like for mine, when I do my setup and have it, if I need to go in a go kit, the 120 is paired right to it. The A, B,
Mhm.
and C buttons on the front, I have that adjusted for the tuner on there. So I just push the A button and it will go, and the ATAS 120 will go up and down until it finds the right low SWR on the antenna for
Mhm.
the radio. And boom, it's good to go. And I will tell you, with this pairing and the ATAS 120, I could be all the way up in northern Wisconsin running 70 watts in a mobile here. And I'll be getting in on 20 and 40 into like Louisiana, Florida,
Wow.
all those kind of things like that. Like I'm just sitting there.
That's amazing. Yeah, because usually those of us that are kind of in the middle of the country sometimes have a hard time getting out to the, one coast or the other. I don't know if you have that as bad as we do out here in Wyoming, but sometimes, getting out to New England or over to Europe isn't so easy because we got to hop over everybody.
Mhm. Well, as a matter of fact, here's a little fun thing too. So I used a Diamond K400 mount, and actually I got it from your Anaheim store. And
Mhm.
one time I was out at our office in California, and I was like bored, I was just like, I'm caught up on work, once, and I'm like, what am I going to
Right.
do this weekend and stuff like that. So ingenuity took over. I mounted
Right.
the K400 mount on of course, the hotel windows only open up this much now, but it was
If they
enough.
open at all, yeah.
Exactly. But I was lucky enough that it opened up this much, took the K400, tilted it out, put my ATAS 120. I happened to be on the 7th floor of the hotel, which was
Oh,
the top floor.
nice.
So my 120 is hanging out there with the coax cable coming into my 891, and I'm doing HF from the hotel room. And I'm like, this is sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah.
Talk about that's like the epitome of going mobile. I've seen that a lot of people. I mean, there's all kinds of stories about people that have been at different conventions. They bring their radios and they're throwing wires out to the trees at the hotels. And
Mhm.
some of the hotels are like, now they're used to the hams showing up. And and then there's other places that have cut down their trees. It's like, well, darn it, we're not going to book at your hotel anymore, are we now? Well, that's excuse me. And again, with like the 891, let me just pull that back up again. We're talking again about, HF and 6 meter radio
Yep.
for $600. I mean, that's a great deal. It looks like we're out of stock of those currently, but I'm sure we've got more rolling in. Of course, with coronavirus, everything we've, certainly have sold a lot of products because a lot of people are getting on the radio and having a good time, but there's also been delays with products being able to be built and then of course, sent into into
shipping,
the country.
It gets ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah. Have you guys experienced, from your side of things being the manufacturer, how is the shipping, when things are coming in, say from Japan, how is that affecting you guys when you ultimately then have to send it to HRO?
We do have certain precautions in place. Our safety obviously is not only our staff, but also to our customers and stuff. So we do have quarantine periods where, the product's coming in and actually sits when it comes in from obviously another country. It will sit at the shipping facility itself and do a quarantine. We get it in, determine that. Same thing with repairs. A lot of people say, oh God, it's going to take me 8 months to get repaired. No, that's not true. We do have a plan in place and we do have a procedure in place that we do somewhat of a limited quarantine, but more or less it's we've seen a spike too, where people are saying, hey, I've had this hasn't worked that long. Now's a great time to get it for repairs. So actually, believe it or not, our repairs have actually gone up too. So that just kind of adds to the whole thing on there. But we are taking precautions and making sure things come in and they're safe to go out.
Right. Well, and like you said, I mean, there's other rules that are in place that, are totally out of your control, that if it's coming in from another country, it's sitting in basically even the products are getting put in isolation for a period of time.
Yep.
So before you can even get your hands on them to send them to us so that we can send them to you guys, there's all of this. So that's, it's definitely a very different time we're living in and how we're going through everything. It's for sure. Oh, we got a bunch of thumbs up here. Hi, Roger. So obviously we just talked about the 891. I bet, the next one, which is super popular, I know, is FT991.
Yes. Very
991A. Popular. That one is something you see people taking out and about with them a lot. And I think really particularly like say Parks on the Air. I saw so many people out with their FT991s. Why? What is it about that it became like the go-to radio for Parks on the Air?
Well, it's actually a couple things that, we've kind of looked at, done some research on ourselves. One, it's very, once again, kind of compact. It's easy. There comes with a handle right away on it, and it's got the touchscreen interface and it has, menu levels on there, but it also has a built-in sound card of the radios. So if you're into the FT8s, if you're in the JT65s, packet, APRS, anything that's data-wise, you just plug that USB cable in, change the settings in your radio, of course, to match what you need to do, but then you're good to go on the air. It also does VHF and UHF for single sideband, and then it's also fusion capable. So a lot of people have started to actually play, and I've actually done a test myself with fusion on, let's say, 6 meters and 10 meters. And you would be surprised at the distance and range that you can actually get on fusion compared to, let's say, single sideband. A good example, real quick, had a friend that lived down in Indiana. He had his beam pointed to me. I had my HF antenna up. We decided to do 10 meters. At 100 watts on single sideband, we had a very, very hard, difficult time going ahead and hitting one another. We switched over to fusion, and about 60 to 70 watts, we were hitting each other directly on fusion, and we were, very intelligible on there. There were a few packet drops, but that's to be understand running, that big of a distance on 10 meters when, 10 is bad, as they say. But, but yeah, no, it's just absolutely amazing on there. And that's why a lot of people, like this rig and go to this rig, because it has a waterfall display on there. It has a scope feature on there. Kind of everything that you want to think and kind of what we kind of say the shack in the box. And then of course you can pair it with the 120 also. So I've done that when I'm like out and I know band conditions are horrible, I'll take the 891 out of the car, or the truck, I should say, because I need the truck for the 991 because it's a little big, put the 991 in its place. And I mean, I'm pulling things out of the mud that normal people wouldn't be able to get.
Right. Oh, that's yeah. I mean, and as you're talking about all these features, it's like, oh my gosh, it really is a lot packed into that radio. It's like, no wonder it's always popular and, going out the door, because there's just so many different things you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
We got Chip just popped in with a big long comment, but he said it'd be great to have a step-by-step if I could talk, I'd be dangerous. Step-by-step instructions for configuring all of the different radios. With N3FJP and JT Alert. And I know why he's bringing this up, because last night he was working on that with my husband. The two of them were playing around with the radios and their software, and finally made contact with each other while I was sitting here playing with something else. But it's a great idea. It's a good idea. You do hear people ask a lot of times, well, what's the difference between X and, Y? So if someone says, well, I'm trying to decide between the 891 and the 991, what would be like what's your first answer to that question? Like, what's the difference between an 891 and a 991? Like,
the 891 is totally mobile. The menu systems, the remote head, the small compact body design, it's totally to be HF+6 mobile. Right. The 991 is just, once again, base station, shack in a box.
Right. You can take it out with you, but definitely that one's built for, like you said, your whole entire shack right there on one radio. So Joel's got a quick question in here. Will the 991A work linear satellites like is FT847?
No, it doesn't have the full duplex on there. And the reason being is that when there were two revisions, and I guess it's a good time to say, what's the difference between the 991 and the 991A? The 991 only had that secondary receiver, where the A added an additional receiver on there to do the active waterfall display, to do the active captioning on there. Unfortunately, with the way the design is, with Fusion, with components, with everything like that, you sometimes have to sacrifice some other functionalities, to be able to keep it a small, compact size and do everything that it could do. So unfortunately, no, it's not. But, not to worry, if you are working FM satellites, we do have other radios out there that would fit the bill in that case.
Right. That's great. Well, thank you. And thanks for that question, Joel. It's always good to know, because obviously people are working satellites like crazy these days. I think it seems like even more so than usual, or either that, or it's just because like there's so many like AMSAT users that are on Twitter and they're posting when they're out and operating. So you definitely see it going through the different feeds a lot more often. Let's see. What else this might be a good time to just take a quick side trip over and do a Shack Chat shout out. What do you want? You want to see some of your customers with their?
I do. You posted this, and I haven't had a chance because we've been busy with the FTM 300. So I heard lots of great pictures have been coming in. So I haven't had a chance to see them.
All right. Well, I'm going to get this ready. Let's pull it up and see who we got. And by the way, the folks that do send in, and we've got some new swag from HRO. So we're going to be sending out as a thank you for everybody for sharing their Shack Chats, or sharing for the Shack Chat shout out. You're going to get a little goodie in the mail. So, all right. So let's pop in here and share. There we go. Ta-da. Add to stream, and yay! I need like theme music, don't you think? I like dun 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 dun.
You need a Paul Schaefer. That's what you need.
Yeah, I do. And here we
Chip,
are.
where are you at?
Shack Chat shout out. All right. So today we've got, I think I've got like a half dozen or so folks, but we've got Bernie, who is KB6F Fox Radio Delta. And it looks like he might be up in his attic by the angled beams there, but he's got the FT2000D and the FT991, and that he's got some nice equipment there. And sometimes I like to make up names for other things in a shack, but we won't do that on today's episode. So thanks for sending that in, Bernie. And we've got Andy, who popped into the chat earlier. Mike 0 Kilo Echo Delta. So I, of course, had to get a DX in here, but he obviously, as he said, is a Yaesu fanboy.
He is. I would have to agree. Yes.
Yeah. So he's got the DX3000, the 991A, the 817, and the FT70D. So he has got it ready for the base station. He's ready to go mobile, and he's got his handheld. So very nice, Andy. You are making a very good spokesperson for Yaesu. And here's my buddy Mike, Kilo 8 Romeo Oscar X-Ray, otherwise known as, a lot of times you'll see him sign off as something DE Rock. So hi, Mike. And he's got the 3000. And as you can see, the rotator in there, the G800. Now, that's another area we haven't even talked about, is all of the Yaesu rotators. We've got the, what is it? The 450 for our, I think it's on our 6-meter beam, but we've got a couple of the Yaesu rotators, and I tell you what, they are amazing.
And, the other thing to point out too is, a lot of people do forget, not only do we make the traditional, 360-degree horizontal rotators, we do also make rotators that, can work satellite. So not only do you have the X and the Y axis too. So those are kind of fun to play with also.
Yeah, that we've got that one also, and that's on the other side of the controls on the other side of the shack. Thank you for reminding me. But yeah, we picked that one up when we started building our satellite station, and I tell you what, it's super slick when you watch them work, and seeing your antennas doing everything. But yeah, it's really pretty slick. So let's see, Michael, who's one of our HRO top fans and always here. Hi, Michael. Thanks for sending in pictures of your shack. He's got the 2980, which I actually have in my car. The FT890 and the handheld 65R. So he's got nice little, nice setup as well. Oh, talking about the rotators, there's my husband just popped in that they are fast also, which they are. We've seen that. What I like about it is the braking system. So you kind of works its way in, and you don't have that like abrupt chink, it gently finishes off where you're going, and it does. When we're moving the beam around to talk to somebody, it's just, those rotators work really, really nice.
Yep.
Okay, and here's Kevin. I think he must have a brand new car, because I wrote back to him like, thanks for sharing, but I think you have the world's cleanest car ever. He's got his 7050 DR in the car, and I said, oh my gosh, look at that. It's just either that or maybe you just had it detailed for the show. But thanks for sharing that, Kevin. And I think this is my last one. John, I thought this was kind of a fun shot, because obviously it was the evening when he took it, and it looked like it's, obviously, talk about a beautiful screen on the FT400. The way it lights up, you got your buttons are lit and all the features. And, the FT400 remains a very popular radio for you guys.
Yes, it does.
And we didn't even get a chance. So tell me a little bit, while we're sitting on this page looking at this beautiful screen, what's a couple of the key features about the 400 besides the obvious enormous screen that you can work from here? What's some of the good hammy stuff about it?
Well, one of the things that you can kind of see from this was how we brought wires X into basically the next generation, and what John here is using it in what we call direct mode. So, if you look at the history of wires X, initially we started it as a design where you had to have a donor radio, you had to have a computer, you had basically a base situation, because not everybody had repeater coverage, all that kind of stuff like that. But what the 400 can do here, and it's shown on the screen here, is now it can act like basically a big speaker microphone for the computer. And that's one of the nice things about the 400. So you do have the touch screen. You do have the ability to do now what we call PDN or HRI mode, where you connect the radio directly to the computer. You don't need the HRI 200 at all. And then the controls and buttons are laid out. You can kind of see there's the knobs on the left-hand side, which is for volume for the A-band, B-band. You got your channel selection knobs on the right side for the A-band and the B-band. And then once again, just the whole aspect of a actual touchscreen radio, and not a capacitive touch either. That's the best thing I like about it. You can actually take, if you have a stylist, or if you have a, whatever you want to use to poke the screen. Don't poke it too hard though. You don't need to put a hole. Don't need to put a hole in the screen.
Don't be sending that in for repairs.
Exactly. Well, John told me to poke the hole. No.
Right.
But no, you can actually do it. And I've actually, in Wisconsin, which, we're Canada's,
cold. Yeah.
sub neighbor here.
Right.
We've actually, I've come out to my car at 30 below on a beautiful day that is up here. And I've actually had my glove and I've actually touched the screen and it works great.
Right. All right. I'm not sure. John is popping in here and he says he's doing field day for the first time after being licensed for 30 years with his FT 817. So
wow. So
nothing like
that's like doing a marathon wearing a firefighter outfit.
Right. Oh, I've seen people do that when I've run in a half marathon, but here I got to pop back up here to Kevin. Kevin pipes in and says, thanks for the shout out, but it's not that clean. I don't know. It looks pretty clean. It looks better than mine, but of course where I live, there's a lot of dirt roads. And if you drive anywhere with your windows open, you inevitably get that. And of course it's spring, so there's pollen everywhere. And this was one of my favorites from Steven. He's in Southern California,
Yep.
KM6 Purity. And he's a fairly new ham, if I recall, and he's got his FT891 there with the FT3DR off on the side.
Yep.
But he said he was in Southern California. He's like in Pasadena area, and he was working Brazil. I'm like, and he's got that. He said that's a homebrew antenna that he's got up there. But I'd be like, again, there's the magic of ham radio. You grab your little radio, take a battery pack and throw a wire up, and you never know who you're going to talk to.
Yep.
I thought that was a lot of fun. So thanks, Stephen, for sharing that one. And that was our Shack Chat shout out for this week, for everybody showing off their Yaesu radios in their shacks or out in the field somewhere, which is always kind of fun. So let's see, what else do we have here too? We've talked about the 991, the 891, which is really good one for mobile, the 450. And well, of course, last Friday after I was done with Shack Chat, later in the day, we put out a video because I had a great opportunity to play with your brand new radio, the FTM 300. And of course, that is like, woohoo, very fun. Couple of things that I liked about it. Now, I didn't do a deep dive into it. It was really an opportunity just to kind of take it out of the box, see what it's all about, and get my call sign in there, make a contact, check out all the different menus. And I mean, I have to say, one of the things that I found really nice, it was actually very easy to figure out. Like, I pulled out the manual a couple of times because I backed myself into a corner. I'm like, all right, how do I get out of this one little spot? But it was so super easy to just kind of work your way through each of the menus, set up what you want to do. And, I plugged it up to my antenna and easily made a contact on it. And I know you've been doing quite a bit related to the FTM 300. So I thought I'd let you talk about what's going on from Yaesu in terms of letting people know about it and all of the neat features on this new radio.
Well, we did release it. It was planned for obviously a Hamvention release. We were going to showcase it there and stuff. And, of course, with everything, Hamvention was canceled. But we did do a, like a webinar user training. Anybody's always welcome to those. We are actually holding another one this Monday due to popular demand. Again, where we go through basically kind of talk about the whole thing. And you kind of hit it right. One of the outstanding features that we really took the time in to do is to come up and enhance what we call E202. So say that really quick.
E202.
E202. No, it is not. Someone joked around and they said, "Oh, is that a new Star Wars character?" No, it's not. It stands for Easy to Operate 2, or the second generation. And one of the things that a lot of people have said is, and it makes sense, driving or you're working with a mobile, you don't want to have so many menu items and features that when you want to make a change, you got to pull out the manual, pull up your phone, pull the PDF out. People don't want to do that. And that's where we came up with the E202. And actually the reason it's E202 is because we've done E2O on past radios in the past. On there. So like you said, I want to make a tone. I want to change the tone real quick. You just push the F button and go into then it pops up with those 4 menu items on there. And then you go down into basically the system, and right away it will give you the ability to not only select the type of tone you want to use, so CT, CSS, DCS, combination, whatever the case may be, but then right away the item right below it is you can change that tone. Unlike the other radios where you might be able to change the tone mode that you use between, tone encode, decode, DCS, those kind of things. But then you have to go into the menu system to still set that tone
right
on there. And that's one of the things that a lot of people said we need it to be able to be more fluid or easy to use in the mobile environment. And we said, okay, yeah, hey, we heard you. And that's really kind of what we came up with when we did a lot of designs and a lot of the features into the radio.
So I know I've seen a couple of people have posted, like after I posted the video, and their comments were, well, what is the difference between why go with a smaller screen on the 300 versus the 400? Like, we just saw the 400 posted there, but it sounds to me like, that one actually could be almost distracting when you're driving because you've got so much to possibly play around with. But is there a major difference that people might want to know about for the 300 versus the 400 when they're trying to decide which radio they want to get?
It's really going to come down in features. And that actually brings up a good point. A lot of people said, we discontinued the 100 or stopped production of the 100 because of the 300. And that's actually not the case. We stopped production because of a component availability issue on there. So the 300 is not really a replacement for anything whatsoever. The 300 really isn't a class by itself. And it really is going to come down to take a look at what is out there for the feature sets of the 300. So things that the 400 maybe weren't able to do, or the 100 weren't able to do because of maybe physical limitations or something on there. A good example I'll give you. A lot of people said, I don't want the SD card in the body of the radio, the trunk drawer unit of the body or the radio, however you want to say it on there.
Right.
And people said, I don't want the SD card there, and I don't want to have to plug in the camera microphone into there. So he said, okay, hey, we hear you. So that's why we put the SD card now on the left-hand side of the radio.
Yeah, that was really slick, I thought.
Right. And plus you can do recordings on it just like you can with the FT3. So now you're going to really need to have access to that SD card. So that's one of the reasons we did that. Plus also too, and this is for the people that have said it, a lot of times people say, I wish you would put the microphone back on the radio. Okay. Yeah, we understand. But one of the issues comes into is how can we integrate that easy for you? So what you actually can do now, and this is a big feature a lot of people are finding out liking, is you can actually plug in the camera microphone into the front of the radio. And now you have your microphone back in the front of the radio, acts as like a full functioning microphone, can act as the camera microphone on it too. And then you could still use your DTMF microphone if you want to, plugged into the back of the radio.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool because, I didn't obviously put it all together like I was going to, put it in my vehicle, what have you. So I just had the control head out and separate. But as I was looking around at all the different features, and like I said, I really like the fact that the SD card slot, the mini SD card is right there in the control head. And then having the ability to not only plug into the base, or do it on the control head. I thought that was really very cool. And, the camera microphone as an optional, upgrade to your microphone is really pretty sweet because if, for taking the photos and I guess, maybe using it for SSTV or other reasons, it's just, sometimes I'm always kind of like, mind blown of all the different things you could do with radios nowadays or just some of the, the handheld microphone. I'm like, okay, I could take a picture with this and do all these different things. It's amazing what is continuously being developed and put into such small radios that we can take out and enjoy, whether it's here in your shack or out at a park somewhere or, out in front of a Walmart for field day,
Exactly. Or parking lots on the air,
Oh yeah, parking lots on Walmart, parking lots on there. Yeah.
But another thing is we wanted to have the best of both worlds too. So, that was another thing a lot of people said is I got enough room, I could mount the FTM 400 control head anywhere. So I wanted a bigger screen, where other people are saying, well, I don't have any room in my car, so I need a smaller screen. But then also too, as people said, well, sometimes I like a dash mount, sometimes I don't. So if you actually take a look, you can attach the control head to the radio. And even with it attached to control head, you only have that much, like the control head sticking above the radio. So
Right.
that's kind of the nice part about that in there. But then you think of it like kind of in a reverse factor of there, you still have it if I want to pop off the control head and I want to be able to still mount it remotely. And that's the nice part about it too. And like I said, I've done the videos. I actually put mine into my truck, which hopefully if I get a chance to be able to videotape this weekend here with stuff is for me. And I have a Ram pickup truck. That is a perfect compliment, because one of the biggest things I actually find out is that I don't use the touch screen a lot because, you're trying to reach up to the dash and touch the screen, use the microphone controls. But you're right. At night, that smaller the screen display doesn't blind you so much as it would with the big screen.
Right. And I like the fact that you could, also adjust the brightness of it. So, let me just pull this up real quick. Are we there? Come on, add to stream. There we go. And I obviously can't see it on this particular picture, but I had 3 settings from like minimal, medium, or brightest.
Correct.
And, especially as our eyes are getting a little bit older, sometimes you want it brighter all of the time. But a lot of times if we're driving somewhere in the evening and, with all the lights in the vehicle, I'm always setting those down way low, because for me, it's like it really messes with my eyeballs with too much distracted bright lights. And so having the ability to, have a little bit of a smaller screen, but you still are able to access everything easy, but then also adjust the brightness. That's really a nice little feature. And it seems like kind of a minor thing probably, but when you're out and about and using it somewhere, that's the little things that sometimes are what catch you. And you're like, oh, I'm really glad I have this feature available to me.
Well, and you'd be surprised too, the amount of information that's on that screen. You would think it's really small, but like one of the things, once again, over the 300, over the 400, you can actually do 16 characters for your alphanumeric memory name on there. And you can actually display it much like the FT3 can. So whatever band you have selected, if you have it, let's say, local VHF RPT or something like that, when you have that band selected, it will actually say local, whatever you have up to those 16 characters on there. So you actually have more, more intuitive type functions of that screen, even though it's a little bit smaller and even though it isn't touchscreen. And then, of course, one of the biggest things I think that a lot of people have asked for is I want to be able to do dual system fusion reception. And that is 100% possible with this. And like I said, it is a full duplex radio. So earlier when we talked about satellites, the 300 is just going to be like the 400. And you can listen to yourself at the same time, doing the crossband. So transmitting on V and listening on you, that kind of thing.
Wow. That's kind of cool. I wasn't, I'm just learning about how to work with system fusion and the idea of, so you can have 2 things going on. Is it 2, like you'd be listening to 2 repeaters or 2 rooms for those of folks who may be newer to fusion like I am, and hopefully, I'll ask the silly questions.
But it's right. So what you can do is you can let's say for example, and I do this a lot. I have my local node here at home on 145.5625, and I like to use that to connect out to different ones. But then I also like to monitor my repeater, which is in my room also. So what I can actually do is the repeater's on UHF, my node here at home is on VHF, so I can have both of those frequencies up at the same time, and regardless, I can, if you can somehow figure listening to both out at the same time, you can do that. You can listen to, this one's in UHF fusion, this one's in VHF fusion, and you're good to go. Or, the other thing is with the different speaker design on there also too, you can actually have your speakers piped out differently to have a separate A and a B side now too.
Right. I noticed that because you had the volume on the left side, you had the 2 volume knobs, and one was for volume A, one was for volume B, and you have the 2 external jacks for speakers. So I'm like, that is pretty slick. I didn't realize that would really be the way to use it if you're listening to one or, listening to 2 at a time. Is that where the automatic mode selection kicks in? So the radio automatically knows what it's listening to?
Correct. So well, the auto speaker select is on there. So you just basically plug in, and when it senses the ground of your speaker, that's when it'll do. So it's in the manual. It tells you how to select A to B and all those on the speakers there.
Right.
The AMS function is actually a nice feature on there where, once again, with System Fusion, if you have it set up in AMS mode, what you're allowed to do then is that if an analog signal comes in, it will radio switch to analog, and you can talk back to them on analog. If a digital signal comes in, it does the same thing on there. But once again, another thing where the 300 excels up over the 400 in this case is you can program all your specific requirements in there. So per memory channel now, you can do frequency, you can do your FM tone or analog signaling tone, so your CT, CSS, DCS. You can go ahead and obviously store offset, 16-character alphanumeric display. You can now store the mode of operation in the radio, and then you can also store the DGID for all that in frequency there. So example for me is the way I have my room and stuff set up is if you want to connect out to other repeaters, you would use a certain IMRS. For IMRS, you'd use a certain DGID. If you want to do to wires X through my repeater, use a different DGID. Not the case anymore. I actually have the ability to program in, which would say, like UPC dash wires X. Well, I know if I'm using that memory channel and I key up, I'm going to be hitting the wires X node. Then I have UPC, I forgot what I have it labeled as, but like UPC RPT1. Well, then that I know I'm talking locally, and RPT2 would be connecting the two together. So that's, once again, stuff that wasn't capable on the 400 or the 100 because of memory abilities and the radio, but now is.
Wow, that's amazing. And just for anybody who may be watching that isn't fully up on all the different acronyms, because sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. So the DGID, that's the digital group identification.
Correct. Okay. And the easiest way to describe it is think of it as like CTCSS for digital, because digitals is all ones and zeros. We can't put an analog waveform like CTCSS into a digital signal. So the DGID acts as that, CTCSS for digital, for sake of a better term.
Oh, well, that totally makes sense. So it's always helpful when you can kind of play, give it a sort of a comparison, I guess, to something that, most people are familiar with. And then it's like, okay, ding, the light bulb went off. I get it now. Well, this has been amazing, John. I think, we've certainly had quite a few different options that people could, think about for field day or not, just in general, of something new for the shack or new for their vehicle. And there is just a tremendous amount of products that Yaesu has to offer, not just the radios, but rotators and antennas. And one thing I think is really wonderful that you've been doing and focusing a lot on is the educational aspect. And I thought maybe that'll be our last little topic for the day, is talk about all of the different things you've been doing, particularly for the Yaesu education system. Is that the Yes for
Yes Network? The Yes Network, as we call it.
Tell everybody about that.
One of the things that we realized is when I got into it, my first handheld was an FT416, I think it was, or FT470. I can't remember now because I actually still have them here. But it was simple. It was 20 memory channels, 40 memory channels maybe and stuff. But as time has gone on, we've started to see that as we start to develop in digital, start to develop features and stuff, we want to make sure that you as the user can actually get the direct education on it, and to come directly from the source, so that there's clarification on it. That's why through our YouTube channel, through our Facebook, social media outlets, when we're not busy trying to record videos and stuff, we do offer Yes Network webinars and stuff. A good example is we did one last week on the FTM 300. We do have, like I said, another one scheduled this coming Monday night at 7 p.m. Central for another user training. We did a user training for the FT3 on there, where we walk you through the radios. But then more importantly is we are working on smaller videos, short, concise, like how to program a frequency into your radio. So then that way, if sometimes, you're reading the manual, sometimes the manual just doesn't translate to it, you want a step-by-step, we can do that. We did that with the FT2 when we needed to update the firmware. People were saying, how do I do this? I actually did I think it was like a 32-minute total. That was me blabbering onto a little bit here, but we walked you through the step-by-step that, like, you hooked it up to your computer. You can hit pause, hook it up to your computer. And then, okay, you flipped a switch. Okay, pause, flipped a switch. So walked you literally through it step by step so people could be able to do this and not feel intimidated or feel bad that they couldn't fix it somehow or do it.
Right. Well, and again, because it's coming, and I'm just posting in the banner here, the YouTube, when you go on YouTube, look for the Yaesu USA official page, and then of course subscribe to it, which really works out very well, because again, it's coming from the source. And there's obviously a lot of very helpful YouTube videos out there. I mean, we all go to YouTube when we're trying to do anything from, working on the radio to putting new panels on your truck or something. But I mean, there's all kinds of different things. And there's Laura from our Laura and Mike down in Denver, HRO. Hi, guys.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I haven't seen him in a while, long time. I met him at was Nevada, I think, back in the day, one of the conferences.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we miss getting to be able to see everybody at our stores. But so definitely, if you're interested in learning some more, check out the Yaesu system, the Yaesu education program. Go to their Yaesu USA official, and your Facebook group is also the same name, isn't it? The Yaesu official.
Correct. We actually have two. We have Yaesu USA official. So if you want to talk about general Yaesu products, and then you have Yaesu System Fusion official.
Okay.
So and then we try to keep that fusion orientated, and then we also have a Facebook group called Yaesu DR2X and 1X FR official. And then we do those with the official, so it's actually coming from us. You'll see us as the moderators, right. And then that way you can discuss certain things. Sometimes we may say, yeah, you got to call technical support because it might be beyond there. But then also too is if you are still not tired of hearing my voice sometimes on these videos, we do do podcasts also now too, on there, and we do our Lunch and Learn series, as we call it, released about noon on when we don't do them every day of the week, but when there's out there, and we have different topics. Like this past week we talked about cross banding, and then we talked also about the data ports on the radios, but something that every once in a while you can listen to while you're eating lunch and learning about Yaesu.
Right. Are those how long are those podcasts generally?
The Lunch and Learn podcasts are only about 15 minutes. We try to keep them nice and short. Just once again, something, hey, I just want to listen to over lunch. And then we do have some full-length podcasts actually coming up here, which will be a little bit longer, and we'll have some guest hosts on there and talking about all things Yaesu.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, and while I didn't show this, but here's a quick question from Warren about the amount for the 120, the ATAS 120.
Okay.
Do you have an answer for that? He's wondering if there is a what can you use perhaps with that?
It is a PL 259 type mount. The antenna base just kind of screws into it there. So once again, I used I think it was a Diamond K400, I think is the one that I've used in the past. It's like a trunk lip mount on there. I know that some other people have made a basically with an SO239 kind of cable connector. The biggest thing is when you're using the ATAS 120, even the 25 for that matter, make sure that you have a good ground plane for the antenna. That's always going to get you on there. So that's just make sure you got a good ground plane for that, and you're good to go. That's the nice part about it.
Good. Great. And of course, Warren, feel free to give any of our stores a call. We'll be happy to match you up for exactly what you need. Well, this has been a lot of fun, John. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you are, and really glad that Yaesu could join us today on the Ham Radio Outlet Shack Chat. And good luck for so I know with everything going on, particularly where you live, I think when we talked before, you're not going to be doing a club field day this year, but you're maybe go out in the backyard or something.
I'm gonna go in the backyard. Actually, that's my daughter's. We got birthdays this month here and stuff like that. So that might be the weekend where I say, hey, come on down here. We got a little bit of a day off here. Let's play on the radios and see who's out there. And they've talked to Santa Claus in the past on HF. Oh, good. Yeah, so it's gonna be good.
Oh, that sounds fun. And we'll be, we have a small group of us that will be doing our field day from Sunny Divide is what it's called. And looking forward to that. And I just minimized you by accident. There you are. Hi. Oh, and let's give a quick shout out for the parachutes on the air. We were just talking about you. Gets out there and it's Kilo Delta 9 Oscar Lima November, if my memory is correct. And he goes out and jumps off a plane and is operating his FT3D while he's descending to the earth. And I thought that was really kind of an interesting thing to see, and just picked it up from, I think, the Denver HRO back in December. So thanks for that shout out.
And then just as a reminder, we do have lanyard holes on the handheld, so just make sure you use that.
Yeah, you don't want to drop that one. I don't think your repair guys want to try to fix that one out.
I don't think repair guys are going to do it. And if it's on APRS, can you set the beaconing for like 2 seconds? Because we
that's for sure. All right. Well, I'm going to say thank you again, John, for joining us, 73, and thanks for being here to share some fun things from Yaesu. And again, everybody, if you are looking for more education from Yaesu, definitely check out the Yaesu official YouTube page and the Yaesu official Facebook groups. And again, if you just look for where it says Yaesu official, you know that you are in the right place.
Yep. Thank you, Katie, for having me on.
All right, you're welcome. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Take care.
Well, that is another Shack Chat, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will be posting some links in both on YouTube and here in Facebook for all of the different Yaesu products we talked about today. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed John. Next week, I'm going to be talking with the guys from the Orlando Amateur Radio Club, Michael Colley, who is the chairman of the Hamcation, and John Knott, who is the president of Orlando Amateur Radio Club. We're going to be talking field day and next year's Hamcation. I hope you'll be able to watch. 73, everybody. I really appreciate you participating and joining. Don't forget, sharing is caring. If you enjoyed today's show, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, hit that share button, and let your friends know. So I'll say on behalf of all of us here at Ham Radio Outlet, 73, and don't forget to stay radioactive.